This is exciting. I think I just found out why Dana White won't first Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall, and why Alex Pereira versus Jon Jones is probably next. And I've not seen anyone talk about this. So this is a first right here. This is what the channel is for. We break stories. So follow along. I was watching this interview with Adam Catterall and Dana White. Obviously, Adam represents TNT Sports and the UK MMA crowd, so most questions are about that. But two things set the wheels turning in my head. Adam Catterall obviously pushed softly about Tom Aspinall versus Jon Jones. While Dana says he thinks the fight happens, I really think he's going to make Jon Jones versus Alex Pereira next. Then Adam Catterall asks Dana White about exciting things coming up. Dana talks about how in 8 months they're renegotiating their ESPN deal. Then I had thought, wait, remember when Georges St. Pierre fought Michael Bisping? He promised the UFC he'd fight Robert Whittaker right after, but he retired after. How absolutely crazy Dana White went on GSP when he fought a bit of an easy touch in Bisping and dodged the new and up-and-coming talent. Why isn't he doing that with Jon Jones now? He even said Jon Jones was afraid of Francis Ngannou at one point. So I think it's because the ESPN deal is coming up here. I think there's close to 0 big pay-per-view stars in the UFC right now. So Dana and the UFC absolutely need to keep Jon Jones happy. The ESPN deal happened years and years ago now, so a lot of the newer fans won't realise how absolutely booming the UFC was back then, and how the UFC kneecapped the cards right after. So let me explain. ESPN pays a set amount for every card, so from the UFC's perspective, they didn't need to try and sell pay-per-views anymore. They in fact had to start giving guys the lowest contract possible, which is why Conor McGregor has been constantly complaining about no fights ever since. You felt this instantly as a fan at the time. I literally scroll through cards, pre-ESPN deal and before you had name after name. Even a Fight Night card would be pay-per-view worthy today. Which the crazy thing is today, even as a hardcore, I only notice one name at times. Back then, 5 names on a card was weak. The main thing was veterans, which have big contracts. The UFC cut them quick now, even on a 2-loss streak. Overeem, they cut him on 1 loss. They don't want to deal with the veterans anymore. They want guys on 12 and 12 contracts. You even saw the first United Arab Emirates card, where the Arabs shut it down because it was so weak, and they were paying the big money. Even if you're newer, but you went back and learned some MMA history, take a look at the cards pre-ESPN deal. So imagine being in ESPN's shoes. You buy a booming sport that's growing year by year. The UFC is showing projections and how you're going to make so much money and all your money back. UFC have all these stars and veterans. They had Conor McGregor or Khabib, Jon Jones, Daniel Cormier. Anderson Silva was still around. Israel Adesanya was at his peak. A bunch of guys doing a bunch of pay-per-views and a bunch of fan favourites. They get it. Suddenly all the fan favourites are getting cut. The UFC is putting Conor McGregor on ice because Conor McGregor wants more money, and now McGregor's been injured for years. Any guys we start to get to know and lose a couple get replaced. It becomes a puppy mill, in all honesty. And that's why Dana says the ESPN deal is going to be interesting. ESPN are probably looking at the numbers and saying, yeah, they scammed us. They say we pay them for every card and they worry about building the sport when they just use that to get lazy. What I hope happens isn't ESPN saying, oh look, the sport has grown massively this year. They go, we ain't giving you guaranteed money. Make the UFC start to work on pay-per-views again, because they've ruined it, to be honest. The sport was on such a high note and declined year by year. So this is my opinion. Let me know what you think in the comments.